Another day, another NBA slate here, and this one will hopefully be a little bit less chaotic and not render the video useless right after it airs. But today we got a lot of questionable players still, lots to talk about. We're going to do what we always do. We're going to compare my projection to Stokastic, see what the industry leader thinks compared to what me, a little legend that could thinks. We're also going to run some sims, of course, for DFS markets and for prop betting with our friends at Unabated, which you should check out for yourself. $30 off the promo code SPLASH. Let's get into it here. Appreciate you guys being here. Mullen Lobby, shut up, man. I swear. Yo, Spags, so dope listening while hosting an event in Nolans. There we go. Love to hear that. Hope it's a good time for you. Hopefully it's a better time than some other recent events in Nolans event. No, sorry to make the dark joke, but it's the first thing that comes to mind. But hope it's a good time for you out there. Hope you guys are having a good day. Hopefully it's not as snowy near you as it is near me. But I appreciate you guys being here. Let's get into it. The Johnny Cash DFS, because I'm wearing all black. Because that way I am all black. I have a lot of black t-shirts. I feel like I saved my black t-shirts in the laundry cycle. So I end up wearing a lot of black in general lately. Kind of creepy. Oh, we don't want to hear that. Nikola Jokic, that's not fun. New Orleans supposed to be fun. Also, people walking around with drinks, grenades, zombie heads with drinks inside. That's the dream. Puking on streets. That's not the vibes we want. We want happy vibes in New Orleans. So it's a good time there. But shout out to you guys hanging out. Let's get into the projections here. Let's get into it all. Nikola Jokic, top projected player on the slate for me and for Stokastic. I have him higher as usual here with Aaron Gordon out. The rates take a jump up. I get Nikola Jokic pretty much no matter what his price tag is. And price tag's coming up. He's now at 12.5 salary today on DraftKings. But Nikola Jokic, as I mentioned before, kind of harkens back to a couple years ago. If you are not a DFS noob, you've been doing this for a while. Russell Westbrook, there was a period where he was in the Thunder where every single slate to be going off. Didn't matter if he was 12K, as high as 13K. I think maybe a little bit higher than that. But point is, like, there was a ceiling there that he was hitting every single game, putting up 70 fantasy points in a triple-double year that he was just so good you had to keep playing him. It's kind of where we are with Jokic now. If the field's going to play him at 8%, I'll play him more than that. Basically, for Jokic, whenever he's chalk, you have to be there a good amount, have to be with the field. When he's not chalk, I think you can go over the top and try to get there as much as possible. So Jokic today, I'm highly projected. 58% sim ownership for me in my top 150 lineups. The field will be at 8% today. So not a chalk Jokic day. Not a chalk day for really all the high dollar options today, but we'll talk about that as we go. Anthony Davis, we got him 9% ownership for the field. I'm getting him at 3%. When you have this much Jokic, you are going to suffer a little bit somewhere. AD at 10.5 certainly has a similar, median projection is not too far off theoretically. Normally, for these pay-up options up top, we do have AD here. I have AD projected for 15 points less, 15.8 points. Stokastic has AD for about 9 points and change less. It's a pretty big gap between Jokic and AD. So I don't think it's yesterday where you had Wemby kind of looking like a similar play to Giannis. You make the case for either guy. Wemby ended up being crazy chalk, but I think ended up being the better play. For today's slate, maybe AD ends up the better play. They're both lightly owned, though. So if you really want to go crazy on pay-up options, you certainly can. So enough value to go out for sure. Alpert and Şengün. So for Houston, you're getting a matchup with Washington. You also have no Jabari Smith out there. As a result, better match for Şengün. The price tag for him coming up at 9,300. He's always been kind of a baby Jokic play to me. We'll give you some rebounds, give you some assists, have a decent shot at a double-double, at least one of those categories. For Şengün, today, going against Washington, hard to argue it. It's going to be another chalkier player for Houston. We'll talk about in a moment going against Washington. But Şengün at his price tag, if I'm not getting Jokic, I think I am getting a Şengün. Got him in 20% of my top 150 lineups. Field's at 8% right now. Jason Tatum, 19% for the field for him right now. You have a questionable Derek White, and actually I should have done the run through the Q tags because there actually are a lot of Q tags, and sometimes when players haven't been out for a while, I do kind of overlook Q tags more than I should in this video. Yesterday with a guy like Towns getting ruled out, the fact that it was Towns and Embiid both getting ruled out completely changed the slate, obviously, in a material way. I didn't end up helping anybody enough, I would say, with those guys being out, but still, something I'm trying to work on here a little bit because the Q tags, you can always talk about the conditional things. And of course we do the conditional NBA projections. It's unabated, but it's really hard to make content and just always talk about the Q tag guys too much. You're better off assuming these guys play for the most part, but lately it's just been a real barrage of these guys getting rolled out. So your Q tag guys today, you have Lowry, Markkanen, DeJounte Murray. And for Utah, the Markkanen one's important because you already have Jordan Clarkson out, already have Keontae George out, already have John Collins out for that Jazz team. DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Jalen Green, Jordan Poole, Bilal Coulibaly, Bub Carrington. Probable players, LeBron, AD, Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic. For the Hawks, you already have Jalen Johnson ruled out for the Hawks, so that does matter a little bit. And TBD, Josh Richardson, that part doesn't matter at all. But the Markkanen, DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Jalen Green, Poole, Coulibaly, like these guys all unfortunately matter more than they should, especially the Wizards who are not good players on their own. But because of the fact they would open up minutes for other guys and you already have Brogdon out, the Wizards are going to look a little bit more appealing if you do get more guys out there. All right, back to the projections here. LeBron looking okay today, 8.4% for the field, 8.7% for me. Trae Young is the big one. So because of Jalen Johnson being out, he's getting a 51.2 projection from Stokastic. I'm at 47.1. The issue I'm running into with Trae Young so far this year with Jalen Johnson off the court, he's actually not been that much better, and he's played 875 possessions. So we're out of the danger zone in terms of a small sample size. Anything over 550, you're feeling generally pretty confident about. He's had 27.5% usage, 48.6% assist rate, 1.26 fantasy points per minute. Those are all good numbers, but they're not market increases in where he is normally. He shoots about the same, so it's not like he's getting hot with true shooting either for that 1.26 fantasy points per minute. So you can go to Trae Young. I have no issue with it. The issue is just like other guys seem to get a bigger boost upwards, more usage go around, more rebounding, more assist upside. Jalen Johnson leaves a lot behind, and I think it's going to go to other guys who aren't Trae Young. But the field's going to play him like he's chalk today. 30% projected ownership here. I got him at 11%. Not fading him fully by any stretch, but I think he looks a lot better for Stokastic data than he does for me today. So again, feel free to default to Stokastic. As I always say here, I'm just one guy making projections. They're a team of full-time employees making projections together with data science backgrounds. And that said, I question the projection a little bit here for Trae Young. LaMelo Ball, Kevin Durant, not priority plays, but coming up a little bit for tournaments. Anthony Edwards is the guy in the thumbnail. I made a thumbnail today before the minutes projections were out, so kind of just went off the price tag being a little bit low for him at 8,400. Had the big day yesterday as well. Anthony Edwards today projected for 29% ownership. I'll be at 25%. Let's sort by value now. We will go game by game as well, so stay tuned for that if you want a different view on things. And to see every nook and cranny of the slate as well, of course, like your Thomas's English Muffins. Here's your top values right now. Derek Lively, your number one value. Daniel Gafford hurt his leg, had to get helped off the court yesterday, not playing today. As a result, Derek Lively expected to get more minutes at 5,100. He already looked like a decent value with Gafford in. With Gafford out now, you're still probably going to get Dwight Powell filling in for some minutes. It could be, I guess, well, let's look at the minutes from last game. I looked at Dallas before, but mostly for the Najee Marshall point guard stuff. Let's see. So when Gafford went out, we had Derek Lively starting. In the second half, he played about 7 minutes, another 7, another 3.5. So played about 17 minutes in the second half. So he would be on pace for about 34 normally. We did get Dwight Powell back playing any minutes that were not going to Derek Lively. So if you wanted to fade Lively, you could go to Dwight Powell and try to get some production there. He's not been very good on the year. But that's basically what you're looking at right now is you're looking at a two-headed monster center situation, but with likely Dwight Powell playing less minutes that he would normally be getting for a guy like Daniel Gafford. So that's the situation right now for Derek Lively, a top value play in the slate. I'm with him. 44% for the field, 47% for me. Najee Marshall, a weird way the slate broke yesterday. They didn't start Quentin Grimes. They didn't start Spencer Dinwiddie. They had Najee Marshall playing point guard. If that happens again today, Najee Marshall definitely underpriced. The minutes for him, 29.8 minute projection. He does get a little bit of a rate boost in court time without Luka Doncic, without Kyrie Irving. Both guys still out here. Luka out for about another 3 weeks or so. Kyrie out for 1 to 2 weeks based on the most recent reports for him. So Najee Marshall gets a shot to run point. He started really well, had a ton of assists in the first quarter. Then they brought in Dinwiddie. Things kind of moved away a little bit from him. But he still got a good amount of run. I should have kept that Dallas window open. I think I did. Still got 32.8 minutes yesterday. 32.7 minutes yesterday. A little bit less productive in the second half. Had some stints of doing nothing in terms of peripherals or scoring. But he's out there. He is sort of the nominal point guard. The main issue really is that, like, if they bring in another point guard, things get a little bit weird. So sort of how that'll look. Dante DiVincenzo, another guy who's starting lately. Mike Conley playing off the bench. $4,800 salary for DiVincenzo. I did not wake up today expecting to get 57% Dante DiVincenzo, but Fields at 33%. He's a chalky play for everybody. He looks better for me here with the point guard, shooting guard eligibility, and a slightly better projection of 29.3 for him compared to 28.8 for Stokastic. What else to note here? Mark Williams getting him a little bit, 17% compared to the field 6. Colin Sexton, again, no guards there with Keontae George, Jordan Clarkson out. You're going to get boosts for Bryce Sensabaugh, boost for Markkanen if he's playing, boost for Sexton. Really, anybody who's getting any minutes there is going to look a little bit better. But Sexton's the one that should be playing lead guard for the most part today. $6K salary for him. I have him projected for 34.7. So Stokastic has him for 35.9. He'll be 58% played by the field according to their ownership projections, and I'm getting him in 53% of my top 150 lineups. Jaime Jaquez, another player here. I'm getting more than the field. He played a ton of minutes yesterday, had a ton of peripherals as well. Started for no Jimmy Butler. For Jaime Jaquez, he seems like he's always a big beneficiary when Butler's been out. Of course, you might remember a couple weeks ago, I was the one person on here touting Jaime Jaquez, and then had some guy come in and go, Jaime Jaquez is awful. The reality is when Jimmy Butler's off the court, it just doesn't matter if Jaime Jaquez is a player you like, whether you think he's good or not. He just does enough in every category. He's going to be getting, seemingly, at least based on yesterday's run, he played over 30 minutes in that game, I believe. Let me confirm that real fast. It was double overtime, but he played 35 minutes in regulation and then played all the 2 overtimes. So maybe you run into the slight risk here that, I mean, Jaquez played a lot of minutes yesterday, played 45 and a half. Tyler Hero played 43, actually played basically 44. Terry Rozier played 41. Bam Adebayo played 45. Highsmith played 46. That's your main risk here for Miami, but I think Jaquez at this point, he's got kind of an endless motor. He's the kind of guy to me that I think, if the other guys start to play a little bit less, I think they still probably trot Jaquez out for decent minutes. But that's your one risk point. I think he's better ownership than 11% is what the field has for him right now. Naz Reid getting quality minutes as well in a slate where there isn't real value. People go to Naz Reid. $4,500 salary for him. I'm getting him at 35% of lineups. The field's getting him in 36. And just scrolling down here a little bit, we talked about Jokic. Amen Thompson, the key one here. Field's going to play Amen Thompson about 49% of the time today. They're playing a sloppy Washington team that could be worse. Brogdon already out. You do have the questionable Koulibaly and Jordan Poole right now. So if you get those guys out, I mean, if you don't, I still get the point of Amen Thompson. The main thing for me is that he's really chalky, extremely expensive. Obviously, the steals and blocks when they're there, it looks like a great play. Still not a great scorer overall, shooting terribly from three-point range, under 25% on the year. That said, most of his shots come at the rim, so that doesn't really matter that much. But I think he's a play here where he's obviously got a ceiling. You're not guaranteed to see it versus Washington. But this is maybe me coping a little bit because I got him in 28% of my top 150 lineups. Feels like he's playing with about 50% of theirs. So it's a lot of Amen Thompson on the slate today. I get it, but I don't love it. Sensabal's a Q2 as well. There you go. Let's crush this slate. And I appreciate you guys being here. Yes, if you get value of this content, guys, show some love at the like button here. It's a little bit of a weird time right now, transitioning in the NFL season from the regular season to the playoffs. I had to start my rookie prep today as well. But of course, I'm here doing the work for NBA every Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. So your likes, your engagements go a long way from here as we're trying to get to 1,000 subs on the channel after starting up basically 1 week into the season. So show some love, hit the like button, goes a long way here. And check out our sponsors too. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash with promo code SPLASH. Stokastic, 15% off. See all the packages they have down below with a link in the description, or just get 15% off with the promo code SPLASH on there. And Unabated, $30 off, our presenting sponsor of the show. Great partner for me. We'll do a great job for you as well if you're trying to get better at betting. Use their data. Their conditional NBA projections are premium, and people who spend a lot more money than you and I do on a given DFS night / betting night use them religiously. So keep that in mind with Unabated. Go check them out for yourself. All right, so we got Houston here, 118.8 implied points. Nice total going against Washington. Washington, 13.5-point dogs at home. Alperen Sengun, as I mentioned, getting in more than the field, 20% for me compared to the field's 8%. If you're not getting to Jokic, I'd like to get him at center. That said, field's not going to be there, so 10% Sengun under that feels pretty good. Fred VanVleet, 2% sim ownership here compared to 6% for the field right now. Not a big VanVleet guy. The rates don't take a big enough jump up in court time without Jabari Smith. Basically in court time without Jabari Smith, which really doesn't matter that much because he's going to do a ton on the court. Jalen Green's averaged 1.1 fantasy points per minute. Tari Eason, 1.2. Sengun, 1.42. Amen Thompson, 1.04. Fred VanVleet, 0.84. So just really has not been that great of a player for whatever reason. But Jabari Smith's off the court. I don't think there's a logical reason why his rates would be down. But his rates are not great generally on the year anyway. He's also shooting terribly at under 50% true shooting. So, of course, now that I've said this, Fred VanVleet will go off today because he's probably due to play better at some point. But he just doesn't look appropriately priced, even with the minutes load that he has. Getting about 36 minutes projected today at a $7,200 salary. Amen Thompson, 49% for the field, 28% for me. Talked about it already. Again, a guy that gets good shots at the rim, can't shoot anywhere else. The steals and blocks when they're there look great. When they're not there in copious amounts, he doesn't look quite as good of a play. I'm willing to play that outcome a little bit more if he's going to be about half the field's lineups. That said, he's shooting guard, small forward, but I just don't think he gets the hugest boost in the world. Maybe a little bit more with Tari Eason being doubtful if you want to give him that too. I might get a little bit closer to the field on Amen Thompson, but if I'm under on it by, I still have about 25%, I feel okay about that. I think Amen Thompson comes a little bit more risk than people realize, even though he's not going to kill you. He's probably going to get you like at least 30 here. So, it's not like he's going to murder your lineup. He won't be the thing that keeps from winning a tournament would be my guess, but you can move away a little bit, I think. Jalen Green, 25% compared to the field's 22% for me. As I mentioned, one of the surprise beneficiaries is Jabari Smith not being on the court. Not really sure why that would be. He's shooting still 55% true shooting. Technically shooting a little bit worse with, well, actually no, shooting a little bit worse with Jabari Smith on the court. That doesn't really matter that much though. But Jalen Green at this point, $6,300 price tag, kind of your direct pivot point. Dom Thompson, having these guys be similarly owned feels pretty right for me. Takes shots on Whitmore, says Steven here. I didn't get him very much at 4,100. A 19-minute projection for him. He certainly has gotten there in the past. It's hard east and out. But you're getting pretty big projections of minutes here. Mid-30s minutes for Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, Amin Thompson, Van Vliet, Şengün. Not a lot left behind if you are to give Jayshawn Tate the 16.5 minutes. Maybe here to knock Tate's minutes down a little bit. Whitmore can get there. He's a high-usage guy, so I get it. But I'm not crazy about Whitmore today. I got him in 3% of my lineups. For Washington on their side, 105.3 implied points, not the highest total here. They are facing a pretty big down pace spot going against Houston and a good defense as well. That's the main reasons here. She'll get your juices flowing. Thank you. Hopefully your mental juices and not your erotic juices, but I guess I'll take whatever we can get at this point. Nothing on Washington that important. Kyle Kuzma, 13% played by the field. I'm getting him in 3% of my lineups, only about a 30-minute projection for him. Not enough to get me there. He's really been pretty bad on the year, Kyle Kuzma, averaging 0.96 fantasy points a minute. Obviously, missed a lot of time as well. But the rebounding down a little bit for him. The usage down a little bit as well. That's how that looks. For everything else here, nothing a priority. If you get Poole out, get Coulibaly out, Kuzma's going to look better. If you got Bob Carrington out, everything would open up here. Keyshawn George would look better. But really for right now, nothing looks great on Washington. You kind of need Poole, Coulibaly, maybe 2 out of the 3 guys with those guys and Carrington being out today. Probably opens up something a little bit more. It's still not a good matchup. Still, getting tough defense, low pace matchup overall. You got Phoenix. Phoenix picked up a win yesterday versus Philadelphia. Frustrating game. I had so much Paul George. And I had Tyrese Maxey, you did well enough, but Paul George was just awful in that game. Missed so many shots, so many turnovers. The fucking Sixers were just such an awful team. So it really wasn't fun to watch. Phoenix won that game, though, on the back of Kevin Durant and not Devin Booker, who missed a ton of shots as well. None of these guys look playable, though. I just watched a lot of that game, so I guess it's just top of mind for me. Besides that, Kevin Durant, 2% owned by the field. I got him at 2%. Devin Booker, 2.3% owned by the field. I got him at 2%. No stands here. Nothing looks that good if you have everybody in. And Beal's minutes are down. He's still priced like he's playing the old minutes. Nurkic's minutes are down. He's priced like he's playing the old minutes. It's just not correct right now here. Charlotte on their side, Mark Williams, the one player I'm getting an appreciable amount of, 17%. Of course, he's been averaging 1.35 fantasy points a minute. Even with the match being a bit of a downgrade, I have him at 1.3 today. Mark Williams, to me, one of those value plays. His salary's climbing up. Looked a little bit better in the $5K, $5,500 range. People didn't realize his minutes were coming up every 2 games. Now his minutes are up, probably as up as they're going to be. Projected for 27 a day. So decent play here. Kind of guy that could abuse a Mason Plumlee a little bit. But, $6K salary, losing some of that upside there for sure. But you have projected about 4.5 points higher, so I will point him out. LaMelo Ball, his brother LiAngelo, the bop of the winner, I guess, with the Tweaker song. That said, LaMelo, the only ball not on the track, because I think Lonzo's got a verse on there too. But LaMelo Ball, 6% sim ownership for me, 11% for the field. Not a core play for me at this point at his price tag, with Brandon Miller being in, Miles Bridges being in. Both these guys taking a lot of work away from LaMelo, theoretically on paper, the usage they've had. Obviously, LaMelo could spike that upside higher with his usage, but he's creeping down a little bit. He was at just shy of 40% usage, now down to 38.9. That's kind of what happens when you have Miller and Bridges out. All these guys are a little bit overpriced and a little bit, honestly, high on their rates compared to what they're probably going to be by the end of the season. So LaMelo, not a priority for me. Mark Williams, not really a priority, but I'll get him a good amount. Lakers, 112.5 implied points. Dallas, 106 implied points on their side. You have the Q tag for, and actually, no, it's a probable tag for LeBron. So everybody should be good to go here for the most part. Rates here reflecting court time without D'Angelo Russell. The biggest boost goes to Austin Reeves. Reeves, we played 23% by the field, though. I got him in 14% of my top 150 lineups. For AD and LeBron, they both look okay. Both guys under 10% owned, but neither a priority on the slate. If you're not going to get to Jokic, and I do want to get to Jokic, I can see you getting to AD and LeBron more. I'd probably rather have Alperen Şengün at that price tag, though, based on my projections. But, still playable here, are AD and LeBron, and certainly if they spike that upside versus a Dallas team that's pretty soft at this point, they're going to be really low owned enough to have that upside matter for you in a tournament. But, hard to make the case. For Dallas on their side, 13.3 implied point, or 13.3, excuse me, sim ownership for PJ Washington. We're to 6% for the field. Washington, another player here, had the nice day yesterday for Dallas. He's still playing reliable minutes, which is not the case for many of the guards in the Mavericks at this point. As we mentioned, Spencer Dinwiddie's getting jerked around. We had Najee Marshall playing lead point. Grimes not starting. I don't know what you're going to get today with the starters. I would assume you get Najee Marshall at point guard again. He played decently with the opportunity, but they did kind of move guys around that second half. Even in the first half, he brought Dinwiddie in a little bit more. We still have Jaden Hardy there as well, healthy, able to go. They have wanted to start him in the past, at least in the second half of games. So it can move around today, but for right now, PJ Washington, I mean, he'll probably be unaffected no matter what. Dinwiddie, hard to play him at this point with a $6,500 salary. Kind of assumes that he would keep starting. He's not starting anymore, so can't go to Dinwiddie's way. Klay Thompson, I think played okay yesterday. Hard to love for me at 6,200, but he's shooting guard, small forward. So if you like him, you can play him. I didn't get any exposure to him at all, though. Quentin Grimes, I got 1%, even though he's much higher for me projected than Stokastic. I have at 31 fantasy points today compared to 24.9 for them. He does get pretty big rate increases overall when you have the opportunity for no Luka, no Kyrie Irving out there. But if he's not starting, I don't know how you can go there. He did play like 26 minutes off the bench yesterday. 27.9 feels kind of aggressive if he's not going to start based on the minutes that he saw yesterday off the bench. Derek Lively, no Gafford again, looks pretty good. Was on pace to play. We talked about 34 minutes. He's projected today for 28.8. Very solid value. Played 5,100. Najee Marshall, if he starts again, looks pretty good. If he's not starting a point guard, does kind of change the equation a little bit. His rates take a little bit of a jump up without Kyrie and Luka on the court. He's averaging 0.93 fantasy points per minute, along with a 26% usage rate. Najee Marshall been getting up some shots when those guys are off the court, about 300 possessions for him. But yeah, I would say that for Marshall, I think he's not as good of a play as Derek Lively, but I am getting him more in the sim right now. Small forward, power forward at that price tag. That would be the main reason why. If he doesn't start, though, or if there's a real point guard starting alongside of him, even if it's Quentin Grimes, who's not really a point guard, but can kind of be lead ball handler, I'd worry about Najee Marshall getting that same opportunity. Like, he was legit playing point guard yesterday for, I don't know why. I don't know. There's no reason why that should be the case. But clearly they saw something they liked, and they gave him a shot to do it again yesterday. Minnesota, 113.5 implied points. Of course, we're going to do the unabated prop betting markets in about 6 minutes, guys, so stay tuned there. A DFS sim coming up with Stokastic data as well. The sim ownership you're seeing on the screen right now is my sim ownership based on my projections overlaid on Stokastic sim, so keep that in mind. And no one knows why. It's just Jason Kidd tinkering for the sake of tinkering, I guess, to be the way that would go. Anyway, Minnesota, 113.5 implied points. A lot of Minnesota Timberwolves today. The rotation's moving around a little bit. You're getting less Mike Conley out there, more Dante DiVincenzo. Same amount of Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That said, DiVincenzo's the big stand for me here, 57% for my top 150. Compared to the field's 33. Not a play I love by any stretch, but he's probably due to shoot a little bit better, probably due to play a little bit better based on longer-term sample size. That said, I'm surprised I have him higher projected than Stokastic, given the fact he has not been that good this year, and my projections weight the performance this season a little bit higher than theirs do, where they kind of keep things flat over the course of this season and last season, maybe even longer than that. So for DiVincenzo, getting him a lot. If there's any other value that opens up, I imagine I'll get him less. But for right now, looks like a key play for me on the slate. And one of the splash plays of the day to spoil that already. Naz Reid, 35% for me, 33% for the field. Really no lean for him besides the fact he's 4,500. And projected to play about 25 minutes. Anthony Edwards, I usually don't get a lot of, but I'm getting 25% today in my sim, top 150. Field to be at 29%. Price tag's kind of low for him at 8,400. He had the great game yesterday. Maybe that drives the ownership up a little bit more, but for Ant, he's a solid play today. If he's not under 9, if he's not 9K, I think you play Anthony Edwards sometimes on slates, and he pays off sometimes like he did yesterday. Really a much tougher matchup versus the Clippers. For New Orleans on their side, and then Jaden McDaniels, by the way, getting him 17%, Fields 12. It doesn't really matter that much. I could not get Jaden McDaniels, but he is a value play, so I'll highlight him fast. New Orleans, you get Zion back in today, projected to play just 23 minutes. If he were to play a lot more, which seems unlikely given that he just played 5-on-5 with contact for the first time, so it's a little bit odd that he's playing. Kind of thought he would be sitting out 1 or 2 more games. That said, for Zion, don't think you play him today at the salary. You're back to mess up the entire team's DFS upside. Even with DeJounte, if you were to sit, like having Zion in, you can't play Zion at 9K because you don't know the minutes are going to be there. He's been good on the year, averaging 1.34 fantasy points per minute, but like, don't think you can play him really unless you want to just take a real leap of faith. It's hard to imagine him getting like 30 minutes in the spot, let alone mid-30s. DeJounte being in, that would open up a lot more if he were out theoretically. But still, these guys are priced appropriately. Like McCollum at 7,800, not priced to have Zion back in. Murray at 8,800, not priced to have Zion back in. Brandon Ingram out again, so that's staying stable for now. Probably won't play again for the Pelicans, would be my guess, unless he gets healthy and then they want to showcase him for a trade. But they've been so active trying to trade him. I'm not sure that he does play for them again. You really can't play anything besides Brandon Boston here. Brandon Boston, not a play I like, really. He's 3,500, though, projected to play 23 minutes and playing about a 0.88 fantasy point per minute pace on the year. So that's why I'm getting Brandon Boston 15% of my top 150 lineups. But overall, everything else here under 5% owned, not a priority. Not lots of love here. Just Zion coming in fucks it all up, really. And he's not going to be good enough for himself that you can play him either. Atlanta, 122.5 implied points. Jalen Johnson already ruled out. Very chalky Trae Young. As I mentioned, the rates for Trae Young just don't take a big enough jump up to justify it. I have them higher than a season average. Been averaging 1.24 fantasy points a minute. Instead, I have them at 1.36 when you account for the total and Jalen Johnson being out. But the rates aren't high enough for me. I don't know how Stokastic got to 51.2 unless I assume they're rolling back the sample going back to last year. But we've seen enough possessions for Trae Young. I'm not sold that he's going to be an outlier play. That said, it's a high total versus Atlanta. Both sides here, you see kind of the green color-coded for implied totals, like probably one of the higher scoring matchups on the slate. So I get going to Trae Young. I should probably hold my nose. It gets a little bit more than 11%. But I know why I'm low in him, and I think there's a logical reason to be low in him. He just hasn't performed that well so far this year, but Jalen Johnson's been off the court. Onyeka Okongwu, I'm getting 11% of him. Nothing else here that's that big of a stand. Vic Krejci getting a few more minutes because of Jalen Johnson vacating some opportunity. Getting him at 23% of my lineups because he's 3,200. He's only playing 23 minutes, though, so not really a play I'm really proud of. I think Atlanta here doesn't look as good to me overall. Deep enough rotation, kind of split minutes. Nobody's been that great without Jalen Johnson. I'm not sold on Atlanta here, but the total would make you think here Trae Young probably does get there. If you want to take tournament shots on Clint Capella, Okongwu, Dyson Daniels is pretty tough at 7,400, but you could get there, I guess. Take shots on the guys here because that 122.5 implied points does look pretty good for them. Utah, they have 116 implied points here for them. Again, you have Lowry, Markkanen questionable. That matters quite a bit. As Steven pointed out, Sensabaugh also questionable too, though. I don't know why he wouldn't play. But again, that's been the issue a lot lately. Guys questionable seem like they're going to play. They don't play. But Markkanen being in right now does not look like a good play to me. I gave him the rate boost that he would get normally without Clarkson and without Keontae George in the court. He still only averages 1.1 fantasy points per minute. I'd have that. Yeah, he averages 1.13 with those guys off the court. I'm at 1.12. Even with that, I'm just not getting there. So I don't feel bad about not getting Markkanen. He does seem like a natural beneficiary, though. But I think he'll be played more because people just love to plug in a decent usage player when they have guys out. And they don't really look at the rate data of like what happens on the court when these guys are actually off the court. They just assume like, oh, Jalen Johnson's out. Trae Young's going to get more shots. I'm going to play him. Larry Markkanen's out. Keontae George and Jordan Clarkson are out. Larry Markkanen gets more shots. It's sort of the core assumption people make. And it is like half true, but like sometimes teams work out differently where you bring another player in, the guy takes more usage away. Like Bryce Sensabaugh gets a ton of usage whenever these guys are out. He's been putting up 25.4% usage, 15% assist rate, 1.12 fantasy points per minute. He's been like a different player, and that's 500 possessions he's played guards on the court besides Sexton. So I think that's my logic here is that Sexton's going to benefit. Kessler's going to benefit a little bit. I don't think Markkanen benefits quite as much. He's a high usage guy in a high total game, though. So that's really kind of the core principle that you have in general is like, normally if a guy is, let's say, looking a little bit low owned and it's like, oh, this is a pretty high total. Why is this guy under projected? You take your shot and playing him normally. He's going to be 25% played today. So I'm just not sold that Markkanen's worth that much ownership. But I get why people will be there. Getting Kessler with the field on him. Sexton a little bit lower than the field, 53% compared to 57.7. And that's that. Hero Q tagged. All right, that's a downgrade. They played again 45 minutes yesterday plus for some of the guys. So wouldn't be shocking to see people get ruled out. And I don't think Miami had an injury report out until whatever this latest one is. So that could mean guys getting ruled out for Miami late. We'll see how that goes. Last game of the slate, which maybe will change before our eyes. Miami 103.5 implied points. Golden State 113. With Jimmy Butler out, these guys are kind of appropriately priced now. Tyler Hero's up over 9K. Bam Adebayo 8,200. The guy who's not appropriately priced is Jaime Jaquez, who once again played 46 minutes yesterday, including 2 overtimes. Obviously, that means he was on pace for 36, 35-ish in the regulation of the game. So For Jaime Jaquez here, 11.6% field ownership. I got him at 27%. If you get Hero out somehow, if that Q tag became him being rolled out, Jaime Jaquez would look infinitely better. But really, you run the risk with all these guys. I would think they play Jaquez because he's young enough and he frankly needs to show them that he's worth keeping on the roster. But it wouldn't shock me if you saw Hero, Adebayo, Rozier. Bam seems like the least likely to sit. But if you saw like Hero and Rozier sit, it wouldn't shock me. It's a lot of minutes for guys to play. A 2 overtime game and then back-to-back. So I'd watch out for that coming up later today. And the total here, 9.5 points on the road, kind of feels like somebody being out, but Miami's been shitty enough without Butler that could just be the total normally anyway. Anyway, Jaquez is the only one I'm getting an appreciable amount of here, and I would get that if he plays. And if he doesn't play, then I won't get it. I guess will be the main thing. Not a surprise there. And last we got one more game. All right. One more game here. We got Golden State, 40% Andrew Wiggins today. No Jonathan Kuminga for the team. The biggest benefit in the rates has been going to Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins averaging 1.1 fantasy points a minute in core time without Kuminga compared to the one flat he's normally getting. So Wiggins gave him the rate bump here. I'm getting in 40% of my lineups, and the field will be at 20.5% today. Steph Curry plays at about a 1.3 fantasy point per minute pace without Kuminga, so basically the same as what he's always been. Doesn't see a big enough jump. The field will be there 10.5% of the time. I'm not there at all. That said, you're talking about Steph Curry going against a team that just played 2 overtimes yesterday. So them running around screens, trying to chase Steph Curry, maybe you're not as effective as that as usual. Steph, field's going to be there 10%. That's appropriate, given the projection I have on him. But Steph having an outlier day here wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world, just given how exhausted they must be, given the situation. Draymond Green, not a priority for me, but 7% in my top 150 compared to the field's 11. Dennis Schroeder, 17% for me compared to the field's 9. I do have a little bit higher projected than Stokastic. I haven't changed his rates, though. Just kind of kept him as the same player that he's been all year. Yeah, Golden State, not a priority team for me, even though you'd think there'd be a little bit more opened up with no Kuminga and Podziemski still out, but not really the case. In Boston, you have a Q tag on Derek White right now that would certainly make Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard, and Porzingis would make everybody look a little bit better because of Derek White taking that usage off the court, and also theoretically offering up some more peripheral stats that he would leave behind. But really, right now, nothing a priority. The field will play Jason Tatum 19%. I got him at 11, 3% Jaylen Brown for the field, 3.3% for me. Not a lot to love here. 10% Porzingis for the field. I got him at 1%. If White comes out, I'll juke the rates. They'll get there a little bit more. But really, the reason you're playing Boston is because they're in a competitive spot against Denver and a decent total for them as well. But projection-wise, these guys don't look great. The most playable ones are Tatum and Porzingis, though, and they're being played appropriately, I think. Denver going over the top on Nikola Jokic with 58% sim exposure. Just hard to pass up 67.9 fantasy points projected by me. Stokastic does have a more reasonable 64, but again, still 10 points higher than the next guy, so that's a pretty big gap between your number 1 guy, Jokic, and your number 2 guy, whoever that may be. I think AD on this particular slate. For Jamal Murray, not a lot for me to love here. The rates with Aaron Gordon will take a big enough jump up. He's been averaging 1.01 fantasy points a minute. I'm at 0.97 when accounting for this match versus Boston. Really, that's the main thing here is like Jokic, big jump up in fantasy points a minute when you account for like the rate differentials, basically how much Boston gives up more in assists, rebounds, stuff like that, 3-pointers compared to average. It's helping out Jokic. It's not helping out Murray. So Murray's certainly a tournament option, but like if Jokic is going to be under 10% played, he's a tournament option I want. Everybody else here projected for under 10%. I have a little more Westbrook, flat with the field on Porter, a little bit less of Christian Brown, but no big stands here besides being a little bit lower on Jamal Murray. And that's the game-by-game preview, guys. Let's go to the world of Unabated next, see what we get in terms of some prop bets. Of course, we're going to sim some DFS lineups on Stokastic as well. It all goes down here to find the must-plays on Splash Play, and that includes this special video I'm about to show you. You want experts? I think I muted the wrong tab. You want some expert picks? You want conditional NBA projections? Zion in? Zion's in! This should lead to, like, if you click Zion in, confetti should fall from the ceiling to note what a remarkable occurrence this is. But Zion in today, guys. Conditional NBA projections have done their job. Alternate prop line pricing, sees simulations of your alternate lines. You know what's coming up here? Some sweet-ass graphs. You want to climb that graph, ski down it. Like the guy on the Price is Right game. The yodeler dude, he goes up and down hills, he goes down, he yodels. That's the reference that came to mind today. Expert Game Day live streams. I don't know if they're going on today. They do a good job. If you're not watching this stream and you're paying for Unabated, check it out. Unabated.com/NBA, promo code SPLASH. Again, a great presenting sponsor of this show who's made a great betting product for you to get better at the world of betting. No pun intended. Let's sim out some points bets here. What we're doing is simming 10,000 times using standard deviations off the unabated conditional NBA projections. And it'll tell us here what the best lines are for the games where you don't have anybody who's got a questionable tag on them. And you can see here, you got Koulibaly, Jalen Green, Tyler Hero, Markkanen, DeJounte Murray, Jordan Poole, Derek White. That covers most of the teams on the slate, but we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to sort with the markets we have and see what we get. Still got a few good bets here that are in that safe 8% or more sim EV, so that's good to go. All right. We got 12.3% EV on Dorian Finney-Smith. Thank you. Robert Griffin III coming out for the graphs. I appreciate that. And graphs. You guys love the graphs. It's the one bit, most reliable bit on the show is that people love graphs. Dorian Finney-Smith under 7.5 points today. 12.3% EV at minus 125 odds on DK Sportsbook. You couldn't bet it on your pick'em sites. Can you get it on FanDuel? Let's see if we can look. Not good on FanDuel either. Only on DK Sportsbook. Dorian Finney-Smith under 7.5 points at minus 125 odds for that 12.3% EV. Austin Reeves over 19.5 points at minus 105 odds on DK Sportsbook. Looks good. Gets you 11.8% EV. Looks like you don't want it anywhere else, though. Quentin Grimes, 10% EV on over 11.5 points. As I mentioned, the usage goes up from a good amount with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving off the court. He's not starting, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but still projected for 26 minutes here. Should be able to hit that over 11.5 points and get you 10% EV at minus 118 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Josh Green under 6.5 points, good to go at 8.4% EV at minus 118 odds, and that's in the Charlotte game today versus Phoenix. Playable as well on PrizePicks, under 6.5 points for Josh Green on there as well on your PrizePicks Pick'em slip. And last but not least, Bradley Beal under 15.5 points, playing off the bench. Still projected to play 28 minutes, though, but not likely to hit a ceiling here. So decent bet to take right now. Rounded up 8% EV at minus 110 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook for Bradley Beal under 15.5 points, getting you that 8% EV. All right, let's go to rebounds next. And keep in mind here on stream, I'm showing you the bets and highlighting the bets over an 8% sim EV. That's generally the safer range. You can take every bet over a 5%, but, you know, like it's going to give us more bets here. Try to pare down just for the best ones for your guys' sanity here. Rudy Gobert under 11.5 rebounds now. We're on to rebounds. PrizePicks gets you 14.2% EV for Rudy Gobert under 11.5 rebounds. Looks still okay to take on DK Sportsbook under 11.5 rebounds at minus 135. You probably don't want it on FanDuel, but you could at minus 140 for Rudy Gobert under 11.5 rebounds. Anthony Edwards over 5.5 rebounds, looking good on FanDuel Sportsbook. Minus 102 odds here. 10.4% EV for over 5.5 rebounds for Anthony Edwards. And it's only available on FanDuel Sportsbook. Can't get anywhere else. Knowing how much the algorithm doesn't show you, I've subscribed. It's allowed to refresh a few times to get your stream to show up. Oh, you mean on YouTube? Hit the like, subscribe. That's the main thing here. It's still a brand new channel, but I appreciate you trying to make sure to get here. Just subscribe to @SplashPlayPod. Hit the subscribe button down below. You'll get, honestly, I only do one video a day. So like, you're not getting inundated with a bunch of new shit. So that's what I'd recommend here. Notification bell, subscribe, do that. But I appreciate you trying to tell YouTube to yell at YouTube until they show me to everybody. That's the goal. Don't connect, but thank you for giving it a shot, and I appreciate that. Don't connect under 2.5 rebounds, plus 114 odds on DK Sportsbook, gets you 9.6% EV on today's slate. Doesn't look good on your pick'em sites. Pick'em sites pricing the EV out today. 7.6% EV as well on FanDuel, so you could take under 2.5 rebounds for Don't Connect there at plus 110. Plus 114 on DK, though. Those look like the best one overall. Max Christie under 3.5 rebounds for him. Plus 100 odds today on DK Sportsbook gets you 8.7% EV. You don't want it anywhere else. So Max Christie, your last rebound bet here that's in the safe zone under 3.5 rebounds. You could take PJ Washington over 7 rebounds on PrizePicks if you want to fill out a card here. We have it a little bit low on PrizePicks today. So PJ Washington over 7 on PrizePicks, 7.5% EV. You can take that. I'll vouch for it. All right, let's sim this out too. Let's see what we get. And looking at assists now. Just going to scroll down and get all of them in. Get a lot of guys marked with Q tags, so keep that in mind here. Just is not pulling those guys in at all, so we're not even seeing them on the screen. But we got enough bets here. Assists looking pretty fertile. We got Austin Reeves, 15.8% EV on over 7.5 assists. Austin Reeves going from being hillbilly Kobe to being a guy that does assists at a pretty good clip. Honestly, one of the more impressive transitions for Austin Reeves. I have to give him credit for that. But plus 114 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook for Austin Reeves over 7.5 assists. Still playable as well on DK Sportsbook at plus 100 odds over 7.5 assists. Good to go for Austin Reeves on your main sports books over 7.5 assists today for Austin Reeves. Dorian Finney-Smith under 1.5 assists, good to go on PrizePicks, not available anywhere else. So get your 15.8% EV for Dorian Finney-Smith under 1.5 assists on PrizePicks. Devin Booker under 6.5 assists at plus 100 odds, gets you 15.6% EV on DK Sportsbook. Is it on FanDuel as well? Yeah, 10.4% EV for Devin Booker under 6.5 assists on FanDuel. It is minus 110 odds. I would get the DK one if you can. Get plus money bets here with this high of an EV. You should pretty much always take, go out of your way to take. So as aggressive as banging his coach's daughter in college. I didn't know that was a thing, but again, it does go hand in hand with being nicknamed Hillbilly Kobe. Hopefully it was consensual. That's what I can't make that joke. You make that joke 40 minutes of the stream, but I should make that joke. Draymond Green under 5.5 assists for him today. PrizePicks good to go for 14.5% EV. Not good anywhere else. Actually, no, good on FanDuel as well for Draymond Green under 5.5 assists today. On FanDuel, it gets you minus 130 odds at 9.7% EV for them. But PrizePicks does look good for Draymond Green under 5.5 assists there. Spencer Dinwiddie under 4.5. Again, the minutes being squeezed lately. If he were to start, that would fuck you here, and you wouldn't get a void on it. So that's the downside. That said, under 4.5 assists, he hasn't started last second half of last game and this game that happened yesterday. So for Dinwiddie, I think you might be safe for him not to start at this point. Under 4.5 assists, minus 115 odds on DK Sportsbook. It's 12.5% EV. You can take that one on PrizePicks as well, where it's under 4.5 assists for Dinwiddie at 11.1% EV. Tyus Jones under 4.5 assists today, plus 100 odds, gets you 11.1% EV. Not good anywhere else. Definitely not on your pick'em sites. You probably don't want it on FanDuel. But for DK Sportsbook, Tyus Jones under 4.5 assists at plus 100 odds. It's like a good bet to take today. And Derek Lively under 3.5 assists. He's going to be playing a lot of minutes. A little bit of a risk there, but it's not exactly Jokic out there with the assists. So you can live with it. 10.6% EV for under 3.5 assists on Derek Lively on PrizePicks, and you don't want it on the other books. So Derek Lively under 3.5 assists, take it on PrizePicks and nowhere else. And last but not least, our PRAs. And we'll run a DFS sim. We'll call it a day. No deeper dive for me today, so you'll have to watch, if you want to watch that one, Josh Engelman and DK DFS. Both guys do a great job, but, maybe don't watch them. I don't know. Maybe only watch on days I do it so they know how valuable I am. I don't know how that works, but just FYI, I'm not on that stream today. Your PRAs lines here. We got Ryan Dunn over 12 PRAs, 17.3% EV on PrizePicks. Not available anywhere else. But Ryan Dunn starting now. Doesn't matter a lot for DFS. For betting, though, it looks pretty good. Over 12 PRAs on PrizePicks, 17.3% EV for Ryan Dunn. Dejan Salon, 16% EV on under 11.5 PRAs. That one is good to go on PrizePicks, as well as on a lower on Underdog for 16.1% EV. Dejan Salon, under 11.5 PRAs. Austin Reeves, over 31.5 PRAs, 15.2% EV. The biggest beneficiary of no D'Angelo Russell out there is Austin Reeves. Minus 110 odds on DK Sportsbook. And there we go. Over 31.5 PRAs, 15.2% EV. Vic Krejci, under 13.5 PRAs. Unfortunately, it looks like a decent DFS value. Not great in the betting markets, though, for the over. Sake is under 13.4% EV for under 13.5 PRAs. Vic Krejci on PrizePicks only, not available on Underdog. Dalton Connect under 11.5 PRAs, good to go in Underdog and PrizePicks. Gets you 13.4% EV on both those sites, but it's not in your traditional sports books. Josh Green under 10.5 PRAs, 8.7% EV on PrizePicks on Underdog. We made it there. We felt that I was worried we wouldn't have enough for a card for PrizePicks or Underdog. We got them all here. We got Josh Green under 10.5 PRAs, 8.7% EV for the pick'em sites. And Dinwiddie, we don't have to touch that one now, but 7.5% EV and under 19.5 PRAs on DK Sportsbook at minus 110 odds. All right, last stage of our prospects here of the combine I run daily here. We're going to roll to the world of Stokastic. Of course, check out Unabated. Get that $30 off with promo code SPLASH on there. And hop to the world of Stokastic now and get 15% off promo code SPLASH. But two great products, really. You can quibble about what are the best products in the space. You want to take your Stokastic Odds Shopper, your Saber Sim for DFS lineup builds and sims. Those are all great too. But I would say if you want to have some of the best tools for DFS and for betting, Stokastic and Unabated, in my mind, are the gold standard for that stuff. So keep that in mind here. Check it out for yourself. If you're trying to get better at the stuff, having the best tools at your disposal is a key part of it. Doesn't mean you have to spend all your money. If you want to get cheaper stuff, the item generator tool on Stokastic, you can do that as well. But it's really try to use the best stuff and not just like free shit would be one recommendation for me. Maybe not the best even. It's like there's products out there that pay like $1,000 a month. Like I think for some of the sim things, that might be a little bit much, but follow your heart. Whatever you can afford, just get something. Don't just go off holding your finger to the wind. And that would be my recommendation. All Right, 35% to first. I believe it's 33% today again. So we'll go with that. And let's sim it out here. Again, my projections not influencing anything here, just Stokastic projections. So we'll get a read of what they think and what really their users are going to have today and their lineups that they're building. Got here late. What's the play? I don't know where to fucking begin with that. You program us, we'll act on it. Watch, don't watch. Yeah, that's it. I just tell you guys what to do and you follow like very kind robots, like the kindest version of Transformers. Luca's very into Transformers now, not because of like the actual Transformers, because I showed him a YouTube short of there's a $500 Optimus Prime that you give it voice commands. You go Optimus Prime transform. There's a YouTube video. If you search like Transformer robot transforming, you'll find it. It's this dorky guy who has automated Transformer robots that do really cool shit. And the fucking Optimus Prime one is so sick. And I guess you make it dance. You can make it do all sorts of things. But really, it'd be hard to spend $500 on it. I would tell you what. Favorite wrestler of all time? That's a tough one. I liked Nakamura when he was going from New Japan to NXT the most out of anybody. I paid the most money to see him, so I guess that probably would be the metric. But that's probably not really my guy. CM Punk, I would say in terms of the wrestling and the promo stuff would probably be it for me. But that would take some thought. Shawn Michaels when I was a kid, definitely, that would have to be my number one overall. He's been gone now for a while, but I appreciate you asking the question. Your top ROI lineups right now, according to Stokastic. Number 1, Colin Sexton. You got Colin Sexton, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Najee Marshall, Derek Lively, Vic Krejci, Andrew Wiggins, Nikola Jokic is number 1. Enjoyed Hogan getting his ass booed to hell last night. I mean, that's what happens when you're fucking like Mr. MAGA in LA. Like you bring him out to the middle of the country and he'll probably do better with it. But you can't drop N-bombs and then also do like the political thing they don't want. It's a tough combo for him. But I think he would do okay in other parts of the country. This real American beer, which I'm sure is really completely different than the other beers that we get normally that are lights. We got Isaiah Collier. Wow, Isaiah Collier at number 2. So not a lot of value on the slate. Collier theoretically getting some more guard minutes. What do they have him projected for? Collier projected today for 28 minutes by Stokastic. He's been producing pretty poorly on the year, 0.64 fantasy points per minute. He hasn't been good, but he's 4,200, and theoretically he does get a lot of guard minutes left behind. So I get the logic here. But Collier, Vic Krejci, 2 values up top. Amin Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Davis, Trae Young, Brandon Boston Jr., Walker Kessler is your number 2 ROI lineup. Number 3, Dante DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards, Najee Marshall, Cam Whitmore makes it in for the Cam Whitmore fans. Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Naz Reid, and Walker Kessler. Number 4, Vic Krejci, Anthony Edwards, Amin Thompson, Kyle Kuzma, Derek Lively, Trae Young, Najee Marshall, Walker Kessler. And number 5, Dante DiVincenzo, Anthony Edwards, Najee Marshall yet again, Zachary Rizache, Kyle Filipowski, Colin Sexton, Jaime Jaquez makes it in once, and Nikola Jokic. So they're definitely lower on Jokic than I am, though he did make 2 out of the top 5 lineups. Higher on Walker Kessler than I would have thought, but he does play pretty well with John Collins off the court, as I've mentioned a few times previously. A little less DiVincenzo than I would have thought. Nothing really too uniform, though, with those guys. Play ROIs of Scott Hall. Scott Hall, what he does off the outside of the wrestling ring, I think clearly he would be a big fan, though. He and Shawn Michaels both really fucking popped a lot of pills, drank too much. Shawn found God, though, so then he was okay. Player ROIs. Average simulated ROI right now is the highest for Vic Krejci, but nobody's technically positive. It's Vic Krejci with a negative 2.5% ROI leading the way. Anthony Davis, number 2, with negative 5.3%. Nikola Jokic, number 3, with negative 5.3%. Kyle Kuzma, number 4, with negative 6.8%. And Cam Whitmore, number 5, with negative 7%. Jaime Jaquez not too far behind. Your top exposures right now, Derek Lively, again, he's good value. They don't want to play Dwight Powell that much. That said, Lively chalk. You take your shot at Dwight Powell, too. They play it both ways, and you never lose. That's the way that goes. But 65% exposure here compared to the field's 44 for Derek Lively today with no Gafford in the mix for Dallas. Najee Marshall, 64% compared to the field's 49. Colin Sexton, 43% exposure compared to the field's 61. So you're under the field on him, but still a top 3 guy. Amin Thompson, 38% compared to the field's 48. Dante DiVincenzo, 37% compared to the field's 27. And Anthony Edwards are getting 37% as well. Your highest leverage plays? Oh, Goldberg fan. Goldberg's apparently going to be having his retirement match coming up for going against Gunther, is what I think most recent reports were. Coming back in Atlanta was what the thing they had posted, I think, said, or not, I think it was WWE, but the people reporting on WWE said that's going to be what comes out in a couple weeks. Derek Lively, your highest leverage guy, 20% leverage for him. Nikola Jokic, 17% leverage for him. Najee Marshall, 15%. A lot of Najee Marshall in these lineups today. Walker Kessler, 12% leverage. Vic Krejci, 11% leverage. Brandon Boston, also 11% leverage. So look, pro stands on Jokic. I support that. I'm with it on Najee Marshall. I'm with it on Derek Lively. I agree with these mostly today. Kessler, I like normally. Just I didn't get there as much today, but I don't mind it. Your most negative leverage plays: Lowry Markkanen, negative 20%. Colin Sexton, negative 19%. Trae Young, negative 12%. Amin Thompson, negative 10%. So they are with me that maybe the Amin Thompson chalk, not the best one overall. Okongwu, negative 8%. Naz Reid, negative 7.3. Is Conley any type of value at 3,900? He's not really, because he's not starting. If you were to get a shock start, that would help out a little bit, but that's that. Big Bushwhackers fan, they would lick your face. So that's one thing to be a fan of. But that's that for now. Anything more than 3 minutes, Goldberg blow up. Same. That is true. For a true athlete, he was not really good at keeping his win. Anyway, that's our slate, guys. Splash plays coming up in a moment, but please make sure to support the sponsors, including the sponsor that is me. Please like the video, subscribe down below. It all goes a long way for me here. I'm just one guy doing an NBA channel, an NFL channel. It's a lot of work, honestly, but I get a lot of joy out of it. Hopefully you can tell that here. The fun we try to have on stream. I'll go through the numbers and all that shit. But please hit the like button, subscribe. It goes a long way. Trying to get to our first 1,000 subs here. So we can start running ads, which I'm sure you're all dying to see more on YouTube. Underdog, $1,000 in bonus cash, promo code SPLASH. Link in the description for all of our affiliate partners. Stokastic, 15% off, promo code SPLASH. Link in the description as well, or use that promo code on there. And Unabated, $30 off the promo code SPLASH on the monthly package there. Again, great NBA data, great market-based tools for every sport out there, including your, I think they have PGA, but including everything, maybe not PGA. I should check that real fast. Other sports. They have PGA odds, but I don't think a simulator. Oh, they do have a simulator. So yeah, PGA too. Go to Unabated. Really get better at betting. All right, splash plays for the day for me. Nikola Jokic has to be one in terms of our pay-up options. That one's pretty clear to me. I like it more than the field. If he's going to be 10% or less played, play Nikola Jokic. That's pretty much how I feel about that. I don't care about the matchup with Boston. Derek Lively, I would say in terms of the value, guys, really the splash plays besides Jokic, more the value front. Lively, Najee Marshall, DiVincenzo, Colin Sexton. Those are my biggest stands here. Andrew Wiggins, I would say, is another one. That's probably the core of a lineup there. So that's what I'll be building some of today. Put Jokic with those guys. You can get there. That's my approach. What's yours? I don't know. Tell me. That's it for today, guys. Make sure to gamble responsibly. You know, there's always money time here. I appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like button before you go. Subscribe before you go. I'll be back tomorrow. Of course, Splash Play, new videos here. Splash Play NBA. New videos Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. every day. And that's the promise here. I'll keep doing the work. Thanks to our friends at Unabated. Go check them out. Go support them as well. And follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Back tomorrow with more, guys. See you then. And if you want some NFL stuff, my rookie previews for NFL start tomorrow at 11 a.m. as well on the NFL channel. So a lot going on here. Big times in January. The work doesn't stop. That's my promise here for you. So let's get it going, guys. See you guys again soon. Let's pray for this not to fucking completely change the slate as it does every day. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Bye-bye.